Hello and welcome to Snide's Return, a tabletop roleplay podcast. My guest today brings to life a myriad of characters on a daily basis, embodying what it means to be a guiding light, a caring soul, an avatar. We find her at the top of the initiative order and from TikTok to tabletop, sharing the news, new releases, and so much more. Are they awesome? Of course they are. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome the cosplay chameleon who's been busy working the day shift, cosplayer, TTRPG performer, and community manager, Utahime, aka Briana. Briana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and for that beautiful introduction. I'm like, "Oh my goodness. Oh, that was beautifully done."
Oh, thank you. And it's just a reflection of your own work. So thank you for being such a wonderful and varied performer on so many levels and so many stages, and things we'll sort of touch on later when we get deeper into the interview.
Thank
But
you. That means a lot. It means a lot. Thank you so much for
no,
having
of
me on.
course. No, absolutely. So before we do sort of delve into your various work skills, arts, and talents, how did you get into tabletop role playing games, please?
So, oh my gosh, this was actually after I was already cosplaying at this point and attending conventions. I first had my first bout of kind of learning about tabletop through friends. My first actual tabletop game that I ever played was RuneQuest. So it was years ago. I want to say, oh, if I'm trying to put a year to it, it was 2015, 16. I cannot remember the exact year. But basically, my friends were like, "Hey, have you ever tried tabletop games before? We're going to be playing this campaign of RuneQuest." And I was like, no, I haven't. What do you do? I know that it involves like role play and stuff." And they were kind of
Mm,
explaining it to me. Like, "Yeah, come by. We're going to do like just get together, get some pizza, and then we'll kind of, if you need help creating your character, we'll help you with that."
mm,
And so after work, I went over to my friend's apartment building in K Town, and basically they were kind of explaining to me giving me the info on how to kind of go about my first game. And so we would do that whenever we could. I mean, of course, scheduling is the BBEG for everyone, I think. So
mhm.
for me, it got to that point where it was like, I would try to make the sessions, but working almost like 40 hours a week. And in addition to doing all of the other things I did outside of work, as far as conventions and such, it was definitely very hard sometimes. So they changed their schedule for when they were playing the game. So I couldn't keep up. I couldn't maintain that campaign, unfortunately. So I did have to step away. I was really sad
Mm.
because I was getting attached to my Lorena Starwind, my elf. Um, but it was I still didn't really know or have a clear grasp on it because of the fact that my schedule was so all over the place. It was kind of hard to really get a grasp on basically the game itself. So
Yeah.
I feel like that was like the really rough start for me. But a beautiful introduction because I absolutely did love the moments that I had playing with my friends. So that was kind of that. Fast forward to the pandemic when everything stopped. And I think we all were just unsure about everything. For someone like myself, being involved in the nerd space and being able to connect with so many people through conventions and such, it was really, really tough for me because, that was my creative outlet. I love
Mm,
dressing up in cosplay. I love, nerding out with people and friends. And that's how I've made a lot of really dear friends in the community.
yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, my one friend, Alicia Marie, mentioned, "Hey, my friend April Hill is going to be doing a D&D campaign. I know because we used to talk about like playing and like when we have a chance, we want to learn how to play Dungeons and Dragons." So she had started some campaigns virtually and such, and she told me about this opportunity to play, and I was like, well, is she okay with someone who's never played Dungeons and Dragons before? I'm willing to learn and come up with a really cool, cool character. And she's like, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. She's like, she's awesome. She's a, really awesome DM. And I was like, okay, cool. As long as she's okay with a newbie like myself and being patient with me as I learn. And she was like, yeah. And oh, by the way, it's going to be Fallout themed. And I was like, Fallout, like the video game. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that you could, there were, different um, versions that you could kind of, different worlds that you could play within the
Hmm.
system. This was at the time before Modifius came out with their 2D20 system.
Hmm.
So basically, we were playing, I think it was Spilled Ale Studios had created basically, kind of the different characters in Fallout.
Yeah.
You could create a character and basically tell the story of Fallout, but using D&D as a system. So I
Hmm.
thought that was really awesome. So that was my first kind of like jump start into it as far as an actual campaign. I had played, I think my one friend, D'Angelo Murillo, had invited me for a charity game prior to that invitation to being a part of an actual longer term campaign. And I was a half orc paladin for that one, and so I was learning how to play, and that was really fun. I did that, and I was like, oh, I need to play more, and it was just like literally like almost the same week that I got like that call from Alicia to be,
Hmm.
hey, join our game, and the rest is history. That was kind of the beginning, and it was one of my first live streamed games too. So it was just, kind of just jumping into the fray, so to speak, and down that rabbit hole. And now I'm addicted. Now I play multiple games a week
Yeah.
and I can't get enough. It's crazy how that happens, but it was all through friends. So I'm again truly grateful for that.
Absolutely. And what a set of friends. Just the names you mentioned there. April Hill is as you say, moved on to use the Modifius 2D20 Fallout system and has run successful stream games. One of my favorite GMs in the space right now. Fantastic
Oh yeah.
human being. Alicia and yourself have sort of well known. D'Angelo, as these people are household names,
Yeah.
and uh,
Like powerhouses in each of them, role
yeah,
play, running games, because a lot of people forget that Alicia now also too does DMing and GMing when she gets to pan.
yeah, and before we sort of move on a bit further because there's so much more to sort of carry on with that, especially as a self-confessed addict to the hobby as you are. I just want to ask you a question that sort of ties in right back at the start and the cosplay side of things. How
Yes.
did you get into cosplay and how has that empowered you through into the tabletop experience?
So back home in Chicago, I remember, like almost any other fellow geek and nerd, seeing the footage of San Diego Comic Con and just how big and amazing it was. And I would see people dressed up and you would see the pictures online.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I want to do that I just one day I want to try to go to a convention and, have that experience because I didn't, growing up in the South Side of Chicago, even though there was a convention scene, I wasn't aware of it because, like my family and the people that, the people that I knew, no one really was into the same things as me, like anime and comic books and all of that. So it was really just, I kind of didn't have that connection to the community at the time. So it wasn't until I ended up moving out to California, I decided to, after settling in, because I moved back in 2010 from Chicago to California, and it took a little while for me to get settled. And in 2014 was when I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to a convention. I'm gonna do the thing. I've
Hmm.
been wanting to do it. It's my time. So I decided to go. I looked and I found out online about the largest anime convention. I didn't realize how large it was at the time. Anime Expo is literally one of the largest anime conventions, and like it's still one of the top in the world. And I decided to go, and I dressed up for the first time. I was like, if I go, I'm gonna go hard. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna dress up for the first time and I dressed up for one of my favorite anime at the time, Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple. It's an oldie but a goodie, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna dress for Shigure Kasaka, the weapons master. We're gonna do the thing, and I went and didn't know anyone, but it was just like I was a kid in the candy store. It was just walking around. I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. I didn't I would kind of go up to different booths and things and talk to the people, and then there were other people who were like, oh, what are you dressed up as? And then I would start talking to them and complimenting them on their cosplays, and that was pretty much like I was like, oh, this community is great, like I found my people, I found my tribe. So thank goodness when I would ask people, if can you take a picture of me here, they didn't run off with my phone. That's what I knew. I was like, okay, these are good people. They could have just totally stolen my phone. That probably wasn't smart to do. But I wanted to like highlight those special moments of my first convention, and luckily along the way I met people and made some friends, and I was like, I think I'm going to continue doing that. I know. My dog Artemis is agreeing with that. Like, yeah, she's excited. but but yeah, that was the beginning. And again, kind of similar to my tabletop rabbit hole. I went down that rabbit hole of trying to find out other conventions in the area. And I think my next one after that was Stanley's Kamikaze, before it changed to Los Angeles Comic Con now. But at the time it was Stanley's Kamikaze, and then WonderCon, and it just kept going. And I ended up creating my own cosplay page because I just wanted to share a place where I could share my cosplays, and then also people not say, what the heck is this? Like, what is this? Like, Halloween? Like, what is going on? It's like, no, this is not. This is a lifestyle. It's a life choice. Okay. But yeah, that was pretty much how it started back in 2014, and then it kind of continued. Me being in the community, and eventually I was asked to come and guest at certain conventions. I know, I know. Now my dog wants to take over. I know. She's like, hello, belly rubs. Um,
Ah.
but yes, that's how it started.
And how do you feel that sort of becoming and joining the cosplay community, and then into the sort of the TTRPG community to a greater extent than your initial sort of RuneQuest sort of dipping toe in the pond, as it were? How do you feel that cosplayers supported you in bringing characters to life when you roleplay?
Yeah, for me, I feel like they're both connected. That was the one thing during the pandemic when everything shut down. I was like feeling really discouraged because that was, again, as I mentioned, my creative outlet, and to have a chance to kind of create original characters. That was a different thing because
Mm.
for previously I was cosplaying different characters that inspired me, or my favorite characters that I just loved and adored from my various fandoms. So for me to get a chance to kind of think outside the box and be like, okay, what kind of characters would I want to be? What do I want to like bring to life? And then thinking about it as far as, I can add cosplay to this. I can still add my two passions, like combine them. And
Mm.
so then it was the fun aspect of like, what does this character look like? And then kind of pulling things from my closet, from other cosplays, and kind of piecing them together to basically create, and bring this character to life in a different way. And I always tell people, you don't have to do like me and like Alicia and some of my other friends who did the cosplay with the role playing, because that's not necessary. But for
Mm.
us, I think just because of the fact that cosplay is such a big part of my life, um, I love that freedom of expression in that way, and being able to do that. And for some reason, something clicks. Like when I am dressed up as that character, it just pulls it out of me more, where I'm able to realize the character fully. It's I don't know. It must do something for my like brain, and it just switches. But it really is like, even like, for example, like going back to the first long campaign I was a part of, the Fallout campaign, Vault, um, when I dressed up as Ash, and I did that every time we had a show, which was every Monday, and I would dress up and do the makeup and everything. But I felt like in those once that stream went live, and once we started role playing, and it was such an amazing table, because so many amazing characters, like, just, and people who are amazing role players at that table. It was awesome. But it brought it out of me. So where I could be this kind of, just almost like this outcast, very hardened, but secretly actually like very sensitive on the inside. I could play this complex character that I've never had a chance to really, do before. And it was really great. It was really fun to kind of get a chance to add those two aspects of, my favorite creative outlets together, and just push them together like that. So, and now I just do it. I don't have to always do it, but I'm always like, oh, I'm going to dress up. Like, people have come to expect that I'm going to probably dress up if I'm going to be playing in a game, even if it's a one shot, because
Fair enough.
it's now become my thing.
As long as you enjoy that as your thing, then yeah,
It's so fun. I don't know.
that's
It makes it more fun for me.
and that's what it's all about, isn't it? I suppose. So that's where you started, where the journey almost you've gone through the cosplay into the tabletop and things. What about now? And this is more of a links thing.
Mhm.
Where can we find you now? Social media and other places and spaces.
Yep, I'm pretty much on all the major forms of social media, like Facebook, Instagram. I don't know if Hive is still around, but I'm on there too. I'm on there too. TikTok. Most of them are going to be at Utahime Cosplay, Utahime Cosplay, pretty much everywhere, with the exception of Twitter. So I do have a Utahime Cosplay on Twitter, but I use my at Briana DeCoster, just because of the fact that it was much easier to keep my one account that I've had for several years than to try to make everyone move to my cosplay account. So at Briana DeCoster on Twitter, if you're still on Twitter, because that's if
Yeah,
big if these
yeah.
days.
At time of recording, Twitter still exists, but
Yeah, I know there's
yeah.
a lot of controversy these days with Twitter, so we'll see.
We will. But regardless of if it exists when you're listening to this or some point in the future, the link will still be there, so people can hopefully still follow those links and support you on your various platforms. And I've just got to say, Twitter over 4,000 followers, Instagram 19 plus thousand, TikTok 600, Twitch 600, Facebook 8,500 plus. People really enjoy your content, and I will be honest, I'm one of those. Partly why I was so excited to get you on the show.
I'm
May
so
I
glad to
ask
hear
a
that.
I won't. It's not an awkward question. Utahime, where
Yes.
did that persona, should we say, where did that come from?
I love telling the story because it involves my mom. So basically, it's a fun story. So, as I mentioned before, I decided to create a cosplay page once I started really going and going to conventions and dressing up a lot. And I wanted to be able to share my costumes without kind of being looked or judged in a way. Like, I was like, okay, I know that there is a community out there, so at least I can do that for them. And then if
Hmm.
other people randomly find it, that's fine too. Because now it's not, it was still kind of gaining popularity, but I feel like it wasn't what it is today, where people are kind of like, they're not going to look at you as funny as they did, I think, back in 2014, even if you're dressing up as a
Hmm.
character. And I was trying to figure out, I was going back and forth, and I was like, what I want to try to choose a name. I'm huge into anime. I'm thinking something Japanese. And I was like, I don't know. So I talked to my mother because she knew that I was kind of going on this journey in cosplay, and
Yeah.
I joined the community, and she was like, why don't you just call yourself Diva Cosplay? And I was like, Mom, no. I'm like, I want to make more friends, not basically have people avoiding me because they think I am obnoxious and into myself.
Mm.
I was like, she was like, no, you could be like a Beyonce of cosplay, which was, I mean, that's any, I mean, the fact that I have such a supportive mom who basically thinks of me as the Beyonce of cosplay, I really appreciate that support. But I was like, again, I love you, mom, but I can't do that. I just don't think that that would go over well. And she's like, okay, okay. So we get off the phone. She calls me back and she's like, Utahime. And I'm like, huh? Because I told her that I wanted to try to figure out like maybe a name in Japanese to
Yeah.
use. And I was like, Utahime, what does that mean? She's like, it means diva. And I was like, huh? She's like, yeah, I mean song princess, songstress, but diva, but just in Japanese. And
Yeah.
then for some reason I was like, Utahime, okay, I like it. And so I changed the name to Utahime, and yeah, that's kind of it. Is stuck. A lot of people think I'm from Utah. That happens a lot. I actually have a
Mm.
following, actually a decent following from Utah. I've never been in the state. I've never been to a convention in Utah. And if you're listening, I would love to go to a convention in Utah. So conventions, hit me up. But no, so it was just funny because I have to explain it all the time. Is that
Mm.
my mom gave me my legal name and my cosplay name, but it is actually Japanese in origin. And believe it or not, if you are a fan of Yakuza, which I'm a huge Yakuza fan, the video game,
Yeah.
uh, there is a particular karaoke bar in the game that's named after me. Well, it's not after me, but like it's Utahime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then now I guess people are kind of realizing from Jujutsu Kaisen because there's a character named Utahime. Now
Mm.
everyone's understanding how to pronounce it because I know it's always very difficult, but I never have a problem explaining because it's a great way for me to kind of share the origin of the name, and I like it because it's my mom gets to have the credit all the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So Utahime is to you as Sasha Fierce is to Beyonce then.
Exactly. Exactly. I like that. Yes.
That's
Dead on.
that's a fantastic story, and I'm so glad you like to share it because it's. I'm so glad you shared it with me. Um, so going from one family, shall we say, to a different community, the initiative order. Where did you become to get involved with that, and what's it been like stepping into the community manager role for a Discord server which has over 150 members in it?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think because everything starts meshing together. I think, especially since the pandemic, I feel like so many things kind of just gets. You're like, what year is it? The
Mm.
time skip happens. I'm trying to think of the exact if it was a particular project I've heard, but it was basically through friends. Again, I had through another community before I had met Bree, Brianna Flame,
Mm.
and also to some of the other members of the Initiative Order, and I eventually met Danny, our founder, and Brianna's partner, Nate, and I was like, oh, this seems like a really cool community, and like basically our a lot of my friends like April and so many
Mm.
others were already a part of this community, so it just felt like home. And I really love the fact that they were charity focused and community focused. And it's all about also to making sure that it is a safe space for everyone.
Mm.
So no matter your ethnicity, no matter how you identify, everyone's welcome and everyone has a place. And like if you want to try to learn how to stream a game, or like you're interested in GMing for the first time, or even playing, or even if you're not wanting to be seen on camera but you want to do like something, just a community game to kind of connect with other people and learn a new system, we offer that as well for people. And I just love the idea of just this place where people can kind of go and learn new skills, learn different systems. If they are wanting to kind of share different ideas, they can. Just fun, like nerding out together again. We have lots of different fun channels, even like for stuff like anime and for
Mm.
music. And, so it's just a really wonderful place to be. And, I think that because of the fact that I was a part of different shows on the Initiative Order, and I'm super honored that I've gotten a chance to play and be a part of some of those mini campaigns and fandom. But yeah, being able to be a part of that, and I've also too was very active in the Discord. Eventually, they wanted me to, hey, would you be interested in actually being a community leader or being a community manager and helping out in that capacity because you're already someone that people have come to seek to know in our community, and they feel very comfortable with you, and you're able to
Mm,
kind of share like the different benefits of like being a part of our community. And we've seen how many people have come and joined since you've been a part of it. And I was like, sure. It was my first time kind of learning something different because of the fact that I previously my work experience and such had only been in customer service relations and things of that nature. So
mm,
I wanted to join and to kind of learn more about the gaming space and working within the gaming space. And this kind of allowed me to kind of gain those skills in a different field, in a different area than before. And it's been really great because of the fact that those skills have been very helpful. For me, actually just connecting even within the tabletop space as a whole. So I'm truly grateful that they gave me the opportunity to, as a newbie community manager, to gain those skills and to connect with the community in a different way, for sure.
yeah, it is a wonderful community. I've been so honoured to be a part of it and played in a game or two within the community, and getting to chat with people like yourself and April and the other creatives that are there. There's always a string of birthday messages to sort of celebrate the people within the community. It's brilliant and such a great place to be.
And that makes me so happy to hear that because that's what we really try to facilitate. Definitely.
Well, it's working at 150%. It really is a fantastic community to be a part of. Not sure how far down in the initiative I am. No, that's a pun, and we'll leave that there. So, uh, with a variety of skills and games and sort of the community spirit within the initiative order and within the TTRPG community, what have you learnt the most since you sort of stepped into the community through RuneScape and then later sort of the 5e based Fallout game and through to now the games you played, the community management side of things? What have you learnt the most and sort of draw on from your experiences?
As far as learning, I think I really learned that there isn't really any limitations that you have to put on yourself or your games. I see how creative you can get. Yes, there are a set of rules, but with collaborative storytelling, there's endless possibilities, and I think that I've really come to love that aspect of tabletop is the fact
Mm,
that you get to basically tell these stories with your friends, and it's really wonderful the different moments, special moments that are created through that. And also too, I've seen as well, like, again, what you can do, if you are inspired by D&D, for example, like what, the fact that there was a Fallout, uh, basically version of D&D. There's different possibilities for people who want to write and create. So that's also too something that comes from it. I was really happy to see that, like that it's not just like you have to stick to this, and if you don't play this way, that's incorrect. It's like, no, no, no.
mm,
There's so many possibilities, and you don't have to basically kind of, yes, there are a set of, there's a way that you're supposed to play and different things like that, but at the same time, there's so much room for imagination and creativity within these various systems. And I love seeing that. Each system has been that I've played, because I've played so many and I'm still trying to play more. That, that is something that I think is what I found is within each of those systems, a way for the creativity to flourish and that your imagination can kind of fly. And so I really love that aspect of it. And so I think that I learned that is that, before I thought that, oh, you have to do things this way, or you have to play the rogue as like this very like dark, very shady, like person in the shadows and this and this. And I'm like, oh wait, you can play it differently.
Mm.
Oh, okay, no, I can add a little bit of this, or like maybe a rogue that is, able to, through their flashiness, distract and steal somebody's money bag right from underneath their nose. There's different things that you can do, with these various characters and these various games. And so, I think that that's the one thing that I usually always share is that, hey, don't go in thinking that, you're kind of limited. You have lots of different ways that you can do it. And, especially with my friends, some of my friends who are kind of been curious, but they weren't sure if they were, able to, I don't know if I can play this game. It seems like it's complex, or it seems like I don't know if I would, be able to come up with a character. And I'm like,
Mm.
and I'm like, no, you'll be surprised. You'll surprise yourself. You gotta go in knowing that, I feel like imagination, creativity is rewarded
Yeah.
oftentimes.
So you mentioned playing a variety of systems, various systems, and not to sort of put a dampener or a downer on any that we don't mention here at this moment, but what have been some of your favorite to play? Some you've really engaged with on either a mechanical or a
Oh
role
yes.
play story kind of perspective?
I know this is gonna be so hard because it's, I've played so many, and
Hmm.
like there's different things about each of the systems that I've played that I really, really have come to love. But I definitely have fallen in love with the Cortex Prime system,
Yeah.
and there's various games like Tales of Zadia, which is
Hmm.
based off the Dragon Prince, which I'm a huge fan. Obviously, I named my pup Azimondius, or Zim as we call him, for that reason, because of the fact that I'm obsessed with the show. But playing that game has been really, really fun because you can create, your, original characters within that. They do have pre-generated characters, but it's so, I feel like, story driven, and so like narrative driven, that I love that it really, as far as, again, going back to that creativity and that imagination, it seems to reward that. You kind
Mm.
of thinking outside the box, and doing things, a little differently, or trying to get creative with your characters and the things that they do. Leverage, is also too another one within the Cortex Prime system. I'm a part of a, long-term campaign over on Open Circuit Studios, Leverage Los Angeles, based off Leverage, the television show. And I
Hmm.
was already a fan of that show as well. So it's like, they just, they really have, just mastered, a way for me to be able to be a part of my favorite shows in a different way. But that has been so much fun, because you have your classic team of the mastermind, grifter, hitter, thief, and hacker. But, oh my goodness, the shenanigans we get up to. And sometimes we have our our director, Trevor, just like, what do you want to do again? All right, let's roll for it. Let's see how this goes. And so I
Mm.
love that he really loves the fact that we have those moments where we do the craziest things, and it's not like we're punished for thinking outside the box. If
Yeah.
anything, it's actually the opposite. He's like, yes, this is Brad. Now let's see how I can mess things up as the director, because you're doing something risky. So that it's
Mm.
fun for him too, and fun for the rest of the table. So, and yeah, so I, again, those two have been really fun. If we're going outside the Cortex system, I really loved, the Alien RPG.
Oh, yes.
It's so much fun because it deals with, everything. Basically, every decision you make, you have to be very smart about it, because it's not like you have, the death saves and different things. It's very different. Your
Hmm.
your stress
Hmm.
level goes up. The chances of you dying very high.
Mm.
I actually did in our, in our mini campaign, um, which, was on the initiative order. It was an amazing game ran by, Danny, our founder, and it was a group of all ladies. And, I decided for the Alien RPG, which people were like, really? I decided to be a kid, and that is
Nice.
probably the dangerous option, because guess what? You're not able. You don't really know
You
how to
don't get a
do a
weapon.
lot of. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you don't have a weapon. You don't really have that strength like the other people
Mm.
probably have. So you have to kind of, again, kind of be a little clever and try to think of, okay, how am I gonna play this kid that's trying to survive with, obviously xenomorphs possibly hidden somewhere. But yes, definitely the Alien RPG. Sorry. Oh my goodness.
The dogs are very excited by Free League's take on the
They
Alien
are.
IP.
They're all about it. That's their sign of approval. They're like running away as if they're running away from Xenomorph.
There you go. So moving slightly away from tabletop role playing games to tabletop news, you were recently involved with a show on there, and the launch that sort of came following the Kickstarter, which at time of recording I think is now completed successfully.
Yes, yes, they've reached their goal. Now they're into the stretch goals. And yes, I probably when this airs, it's already been done and over with. But at least the day of recording, this was their last day for
Mm.
their Kickstarter. But I was very, very happy. A lot of dear friends are part of it, and so I couldn't be happier because of the fact that it was no easy task. They're doing something that is unique and different. I'm just happy that the community came together and basically we're like, hey, we're going to support this. We want to see this happen. And I think that some really awesome things will happen from that. And hopefully some awesome indie games and creators will be highlighted. And of course, I always love seeing representation, and I love the fact that, they have a mixed group of hosts. So yeah, so it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And moving away from tabletop roleplay games and tabletop news, you have recently posted on Instagram and Twitter about attending Ren Fair and WonderCon and KikoriCon, if I make sure I
Yes.
say that correctly. So you're sort of still getting out and sort of carrying on with the cosplay thing. So what's it been like now? Air quotes post pandemic.
Yes. So I mean, it's of course we're all navigating because, I mean, it's still, I mean, the chances of getting COVID, it's still out there. Of course, that's why, I make sure that, I'm fully boosted, all the extra boosts. I'm like, stick me with as many of the vaccines as possible, please. Thank you. But like taking those precautions, but also to now that things are um, a little bit safer than they were before, because I think that it was a lot of, obviously, trying to, organizations trying to figure out how can we make it safe, what can we do to kind of slowly bring things back. A lot of conventions now are going back to capacity compared to, their limited capacity from before. Yeah, two events during that time. It was definitely an adjustment process because of the fact that, trying to make sure that we were all being safe, and just kind of peopling again. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Myself, a lot of people I think that I am very extroverted. Like they're like, oh, I'm sure this was difficult because you do love, and I love people, but I also too there's that part of me when I was younger, I was very introverted. So a lot of people don't know that performing arts and dance and cosplay, it's a way, that self-expression and kind of pulling myself out of my comfort zone and connecting with people in a different way. That kind of, I was so used to that, and that kind of brought me out of my shell from when I was younger. So
Yeah.
then it was weird because I realized I started reverting back to kind of those older habits of kind of just, if I saw people and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I'm just gonna stay over. And my partner's like, what? No, that's our friend. Like, you're not gonna bother them. They're probably happy. Like they don't know that you're over here. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Wow, I gotta people. I gotta get used to peopling again. I'm like, I'm so awkward. But I'm not saying I wasn't awkward before because I mean, we're all a little bit weird. But that's
Hmm.
great. There's nothing wrong with that being a little bit weird. But it was just more of that, kind of, oh, okay, like, oh yes, I see my friends again. We could be friends again.
Hmm.
So it was that adjusting. to being back into the world again in that way. But it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful, and also to getting back to actually traveling to other states. Like it was my first time in Arizona at an Arizona con for Kokori. I had been to Flagstaff before, but just kind of in passing when I was coming to California. So it was just kind of like one of my little brief pit stops, and then another time when a friend of mine. I went to go visit their family in Flagstaff, so it was great to kind of be there. But as a guest, a cosplay guest. So I was really honored that I was able to go out and be a part of that convention. And I love one thing I love doing because I do enjoy hosting. I now host events in addition to panels and things.
Okay.
And I even have done some. You probably have seen some of my different talks on the initiative
Hmm.
quarter as well for various Kickstarters like Tabletop News and Daughter of Frankenstein with its
Yes.
Beth Bard and Jaden King. But
Hmm.
yeah, I love having a chance to get back to doing that because I love hearing people's stories. And I'm sure that's why you do what you do because you love kind of getting to know people and learning about why they do what they do and what inspires them and so it's really great that now that things are kind of back I can kind of get back to doing that because it's something that and being a part of conventions, what I've really enjoyed is being able to do that, to host panels and these different discussions on various topics and things.
Yeah. And you certainly inspire people. So it's great that you're able to sort of continue out and
Yeah.
do that. And you have been on your travels sort of recently, spent a little bit of time on the water, should we say? Uh, with three others plus a man with a guitar. Uh, so what was it like to be
Oh,
in?
oh, oh! I was like, I'm sorry, that took me a second. I was like, I was on the water. I was like, what? Water tribe? Katara? I totally my connection to the water
It runs
the
deep,
same,
it
but it goes,
seems.
it goes, yeah, it runs very deep. Yes, with my friend Jason Charles Miller, that was a really really awesome to be asked. Hey, do you want to go out in the middle of nowhere and stand in the river and be creepy while we sing and rock out? Yeah, sure, sign me up. That sounds like a good time. Yeah, so that was such a fun experience. Everyone involved, director Andrew Vogel, and was fantastic. Made us all look like really, really awesome. But of course, as you know, Jason Charles Miller's and his bandmates are absolutely insanely talented.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I'm a fan of his music and his work. So to basically be asked, it was an honor to be able to be a part of that. And ladies, fellow sirens, fantastic to work with as well.
Mm.
They're gorgeous and talented, so that was really fun to kind of play up that siren role with them.
Oh, fantastic. So before I sort of or we sort of close out this interview, where can we find you next? We've spoken about where you've come from, where you've been, uh, who you've become socially involved with in a very positive way. Where do we find you going next?
Yes. Well, as of right now, there's an NDA, so there's going to be some announcements coming as far
Ooh.
as maybe an event I might be at in a really awesome capacity. So
Hmm.
stay tuned. That will be all will be revealed soon enough. But basically, there's going to be some more like convention things happening. Um, Still kind of going through the process of finalizing all of that.
Mhm.
Hopefully, more hosting as well. Because that's something that has been another passion of mine. I've really, really been enjoyed the journey of becoming a better host, and hopefully, my goal is to try to start up a show soon where I'm able to have discussions with different people within the tabletop community. So fingers crossed on that. Hopefully, I can make that happen. But again, being involved with the campaigns as well. that I've been a part of for a while because those are still ongoing. So the Ecrium expeditions where I play my little seafling, half sea elf, half halfling, Fanara Valar, who is just a Cinnabon, the sweetest thing. She's a Peace Domain cleric. She's still going through her journey of, her wanderlust, exploring new places, figuring out who she's meant to be. And also, too, we're continuing our Leverage Los Angeles campaign. So that is getting more and more intense as the seasons continue. So our current job, the wine job, is not over. So we're being taken on a wild ride right now. So it's going to be great to see what happens at the conclusion of this season. But yeah, there's going to be some other things. I feel bad because I can't say everything because it's kind of things
totally
that are like
understandable.
on the low, but will be revealed soon enough. If people
Yeah.
follow me on my socials, they'll see
All
what
right.
I
Well,
meant.
speaking of socials, as we wait to find out how everything shapes up, shakes down, and a bit of self-discovery there, how can we discover you? Where can we find you and everything you're associated with, please, Briana?
Yes, so once again, you can find me at Utahime Cosplay, Utahime Cosplay, pretty much everywhere except on Twitter, where you can find me at Briana DeCoster. Yeah, I have been pretty active, especially on my Twitter as of late. So you can kind of see what shenanigans I'm up to on a weekly basis there. And yeah, feel free if anyone has any questions or, if anyone wants to reach out. My DMs are open. I take a look at them pretty regularly. So.
All right, all right. Well, I'll make sure that there are links down to your social media website and all the sort of good things down in the description below. So please scroll down, follow Briana, and all the wonderful things that both her and the Initiative Order are working on. Briana, I'd love to get you back on the show in the future to catch up and support the soon to be created, released, generated talk show you've mentioned there. I'd love to support that in the future as well.
Yes,
If you'd love to come back and join me, of course.
of course, of course. I would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I will make sure we get that arranged outside this interview. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show, Brianna. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to learn more about the show, then go to www.snydersreturn.squarespace.com. Alternatively, you can find us over on Twitter @ReturnSnyder. We have a Linktree link in the description of this episode. And if you want to support us, come and join us over on Patreon. And we also have a Discord server. Please leave us a review because we'd love to learn how to improve the channel and provide better content out for those who are listening. Until we speak again, thank you.